What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated TonyTGD, and I am joined once again by myself in comics, the coolest werewolf on YouTube. What's up, Bianca?
Hey, what's it going? How's it going? Waffles.
Waffles?
I'm not looking at Instagram.
Oh. So we watched Baki episodes 11 through 15. Even though 15 is a recap episode, we got to include it because it's in the series, so we got to watch it. So overall, I was very disappointed with these episodes. The series had been building up to something, and we get there, and then it's just a total letdown, in my opinion. It's a complete letdown. How do you feel about these 5 episodes?
Not as much as a letdown as for you.
For me, like I said, it was a complete letdown. And it started with episode 11. Okay? This is where it went off the rails for me. So episode 11 picks up right where episode 10 left off. We got Nomaru. I think that's his name, right? He's turning into Gaia. He's doing the whole I smell adrenaline. And then he wiggles himself out of the little hole. He gets up and he's like, come on, let's fucking fight. And so we're going to get the big fight. Gaia versus Baki. The man who's said to be so badass that he could take Yujiro Hanma in a fight. Possibly. I'm not sure. They're that close in the skill. So we get the kickoff of the fight. And Baki's not able to hit him. Not able to hit him. Gaia is just too fast. Just too fast. And we find out the reason why he's too fast is because he can control his brain in such a way that he fills his body with adrenaline, making him superhuman. He's superhuman fast, superhuman strong. And he proceeds to kick the shit out of Baki. While taunting him and telling him you're never gonna beat me because you've trained your muscles, you've relied on weightlifting and fighting to get better, while I'm just using chemicals in my brain to make myself a badass. And I hate when shows do this. I hate when shows try to use science, right, to justify the stupid things they do. Okay, because there is such a thing, right? Hysterical strength is a thing. It's when like a mother gets that rush of adrenaline and she pops a car off her kid, right? Or there was an instance where a guy was stuck on a mountain and like a boulder was coming at him and he pushed the boulder out of the way, with his adrenaline. But you see, when this happens, when a real person does these things, usually they end up fucking up their arms, their legs, their muscles, because the human body is not meant to use 100% of your strength. If you used 100% of your strength, you would rip your muscles from your bone, the tendons would snap, your bones would be shattered. Bad things would happen to your body.
And this is why Tony doesn't use 100% of his brain. He's too weak, guys. He's too weak. He can't do what Gaia does.
Okay. And number 2, that's the other thing, right? Guys, like the normal person only uses 2 to 3% of their brain. And I'm like, this has been debunked. I know this is like a 2001 show, but this has been debunked for the longest time, right? The idea that we only use 10% of our brains, or that every human on Earth uses 100% of their brain. You just don't use 100% all at once. It's your electrons are firing, things are happening, right? There's no reason to use 100. Different parts of your brain control different things, so it would make no sense to to use 100% of your brain because it's not going to help you to fight. It's nonsensical. Right?
Oh, that's right. He's like, people use like 10 to 12% of their brains, and I'm like, I've never heard such a high percentage before. I usually hear 10 or lower.
But he taunts Baki. Eventually, he slams him with this like body slam. He's like, "That's I slammed you at 70 miles per hour. That's the equivalent of like a 3-story or a 30-story. I forget what he says, but he's basically like, it's like falling off a fucking building. And then he picks him up and he slams him again. But this time he's like, I'm going to slam you on the water, because if you get slammed on the water, that's like hitting concrete, right? Because when you hit, there's no give. The ground has give.
It does hurt.
Water has no give, right? I'm like, okay.
All it does is take.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We've been shown time and time again that Baki, despite his great fighting ability and his ability to overcome certain things, right? He's still human. He still has, like I said, like we said before, this is more grounded than later seasons, right? So we're still in these people are normal, just a little bit better, right? So, I mean, how does Baki not like break his back or injure himself in any way during this whole exchange?
It's gotta be the muscles, man. The muscles.
So then Gaia leaves him for dead. He's like, "You're dead. That's it." But the endorphins inside Baki's brain go off, and he rises out of the water to meet the challenge. He's like, I'm back. And Gaia's like, yeah. See, this endorphins can block your pain receptors, but it's not as good as adrenaline. Endorphins are all right, but adrenaline's better. Now it's the battle of adrenaline versus endorphins. And it's like, it's evenly matched. We go back and forth. Baki's getting some hits in. Gaia's countering. Back and forth, back and forth. But eventually, Gaia's like, well, screw this. As great as my skill is, as great as my adrenaline is, I can also use weapons. So then he just starts like using leaves and vines, and he tries to choke him out. And he actually has Baki on the ropes. Baki has got a vine wrapped around his neck. Guy has also got him in a headlock. He's suspended above the ground. That's it. Game over. Until Gaia says, yeah, see, you ain't as good as your dad. And that pisses Baki off. And he kicks himself free. Frees himself with an overhead kick. Axe kicks the fucking leaf behind him, the vine. Frees himself. Slaps Gaia around. And then, in an act of mercy, he takes his hand and gently presses it on Gaia's neck until he passes him out. And that's how the fight ends. All in one episode. Yes. And that's why I was disappointed. The Hayama fight, those 2 episodes, right? I'm thinking they've built this guy up so much, right? And I'm thinking this has got to be like a 2-episode, 2.5 episode thing, right? It's gonna be a big epic fight. And it's not really that epic.
That was probably my bad. I probably advertised it as such. But him having like, I don't know, what's it called? Oh no, like multiple personality disorder or whatever. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, they explained that he enjoys war, but here's what I didn't get, right? Because he goes, Nomaru was in war and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed war. He enjoyed killing people, right? And then he gets put in front of a firing squad because he gets captured by the enemy. And in that moment, he snaps and he becomes Gaia. But luckily, he gets saved by his squad mates, and he does not need to unleash Gaia, but he turns bald from the adrenaline.
He said like I don't know, it was a mix of fear and something else. Probably fear and adrenaline, that it traumatized him or whatever, and it made him lose his hair.
Yeah. But here's what I didn't understand. Okay. Nomaru is like a pussy, right? He's like scared. He did it. But prior to his split personality, he enjoyed killing people in war.
I constantly wonder if it's like from PTSD, so he lets Gaia do all the fighting.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is before then he enjoyed war.
Yes.
And then like he gets a split personality. And neither one is like his original. It's like there's a third personality that's hidden. Like the original personality is gone, and then there's like wussy and like psycho. Because originally he was not a wussy. He enjoyed war. He liked fighting. He wasn't like this shy, like oh no, like nervous guy, right?
No, but he could have become that way after the war.
But from what literally he gets tied up, turns into Gaia, and then like I don't
Yeah.
see.
I mean, like, from the trauma that he was literally about to die, so he became like the medic of the team.
I guess I thought it was stupid. Because I could see him like being a badass, and then like Guy is even more of a badass. Like being a badass wasn't enough. I gotta go super badass, like Super Saiyan. But no, it's like wussy and then Super Saiyan. Either way, Gaia loses. The guy that they built up, the show itself, not just you, but the show itself built him up to be equivalent of Yujiro, right? And it was a letdown. It's a letdown. So he beats Gaia. And then they sit down and have a meal together. They're all friends now. He beats them up. Gaia wakes up after his little. By the way, if you put somebody out like that by holding their carotid artery, you're taking oxygen from their brain. That's potential brain damage there.
You don't get brain damage in this show. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess. Then they share a meal, and that's how the episode ends. With Baki saying, "Sometimes the best friends are old war friends." It was really weird and cheesy.
Yeah, I loved it.
Then, episode 12. Oh boy, this wasn't good. Like almost nothing happened in this episode. Like literally, the episode is called Bite Marks. And what we get is Yujiro finds out that Baki has beaten Gaia. Baki's headed back to Japan because he was in Okinawa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's headed back to Japan, the mainland or the main island, whatever.
The mainland.
I don't know exactly where Yujiro is. Because it's hard to tell, right? Because everybody's drawn the same. It's hard to tell like where they're at, like what country. But there's a prime minister, and he's like, "I'm going to kill the prime minister."
Prime Minister.
Now I'm not sure if he's supposed to be in England, or is the prime minister of Japan, or
I would assume. No, wait. You're right. I don't think they ever said if it was the Japanese one.
He didn't look Japanese.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like, I was confused. I was like, I don't, because they didn't say where he was. They just like, dude just shows up. It's like, hey, yeah, fucking, he beat Gaia. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna show you how much of a badass I am. Either way, he goes to the undisclosed prime minister abode, and they're waiting for him, and he beats up a bunch of security guards, and then they bring in more security guards and beats those guys up. And he runs into the prime minister office and basically says, "I'm going to kill you." And the guy's like, "Oh shit, don't kill me." And he just like kicks the desk. He's like, "I'm not going to kill you today. Your security guard sucks." And he just leaves. I'm like, wow, that was pointless. Absolutely pointless. And again, I was confused because he's supposed to be like bad, right? Like an evil dude. So if he would have killed the prime minister, I'd be like, oh, okay, he's evil. But this just seemed like he's just like nuts, crazy.
All of the above to me.
Then we get, the manservant guy. I always forget his name. But Emmy's manservant is like, hey, Yujiro went nuts and he's like attacked the prime minister. And she's like, haha, that's funny. And he's like, no, it really isn't, because like a bunch of people lost their jobs. And she's like, well, those people suck, because if they didn't suck, they probably wouldn't have allowed him to get in there, right? So she's like, whatever. And she's like, again, always like super horny for Yujiro doing really weird things. Then we flash over. He's with some swordsmen. It was just like, I don't know who this guy is. He's just like, hey, swordsman guy, you like famous. I'm like, who's this guy? Like, they didn't really explain who this guy was. Just a swordsman. He's like, hey, I want you to like slice me up because you're awesome with that sword and you fucking move so fast. I want you to try to slice me, and then I'm gonna dodge. And the swordsman's like, are you fucking nuts, kid? Like, I will slice you in half. He's like, no, don't worry, it'll be cool. He's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So then Baki attacks him, prompting the swordsman to be like, well, okay, I guess I have to, because self-defense now, right? And he waits until Baki gets just in exactly striking distance, like his foot. He's like watching his foot like move. He's like, one more, half a toe, and it's fucking, he's close enough. Which made no sense again, because it didn't look like Baki's body was moving so much as just his foot, right? So, like, if his whole body doesn't go forward and just his foot move forward, he's still in the same spot, essentially, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I honestly thought he was just dodging.
Well, he didn't. Because he moves forward, the guy slices, and Baki's got his eyes closed because he's like, I got to be one with the movement. And he feels the blade. As soon as the blade touches him, he then moves. He's so fast. Which again makes, I don't understand how this works, but the blade actually hits him, makes contact with his skin, cuts him, and then he moves. Like before the follow through happens. And he's able to kick the guy in the head. And proving that he is that fast. But the dude did slice him. He's like, I'm going to wear this scar with pride. And he's like, you're even better than your dad because your dad's a dick. You got respect. Not like that, kid. And so, not to be one-upped, and again, I don't know how Yujiro, he's just like hanging around. He must know things. He's got like fucking Baki sense. He goes to another dude. He's like, hey, you're awesome, but you're like a fucking archer. He's like, yeah, check this out. I got this super duper bow. It's like 200 pounds of strength to pull it. Titanium arrows. He's like, good, I want you to shoot me with it. And the guy's like, what? He's like, yeah, shoot me with it. He's like, but if you hold back and you don't really try to kill me, I'm going to murder you to death. And so dude's like, okay. And then, of course, Yujiro is so fast that he catches the arrow before it even leaves the bow.
What he does is that he steps forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he tells him, hey, only go like so far. But still, that's incredible speed, because once you let it go, like once he lets the end of the arrow go, 200 pounds of pressure is going to sling this thing forward. Like, you got to be that fast, that quick and precise. And he's able to do it. He's able to catch it.
I was surprised that, I thought he was just going to, catch it and stay where he was at, or that he was going to dodge or something. But no, he literally moves towards the bow extremely fast, but also catches it to the point where it's like, as soon as the guy released it, he already caught it.
Yeah. Also, he does that weird put my arms up stance. Like, come at me, bro. He's like, come at me, bro. Shoot me with an arrow.
Ain't nobody gonna come at you, bro.
Also, I forgot to mention this, but when the dude is going to slice Baki, the funniest thing happens, because he goes, what happens if I kill Baki? Yujiro's going to be mad at me. It seems to be everybody's, training of thought. Like, whenever they, face Baki, if I whip his ass, is his dad gonna beat me up? Like, am I supposed to whip his ass, or like, am I supposed to let him win? Like, it always feels weird, like, because then I always go, well, did he let him get away with it? Like, because he's, in the back of your head, you're like, I can't really slice him, so I just gotta sort of do it.
Yes, sort of do it.
So then we get a shot of Emmy. She's at the hotel. She goes up to her room, and of course, Yujiro's there in his black thong, just stretching and doing his little karate shit for some reason.
He's stretching and I don't know, releasing up his sweats.
And she's like, "Oh, like, yeah, this is awesome." And
I was like, "Dang, man! If you're gonna put sweat all over the room, clean it up."
Yeah. He just looks so weird, like, just so over muscled, and like certain parts of his body like super skinny, and because there's just no muscle there, and it's just like a huge calf, nothing on his shin, and then like his foot is huge. It's like, it's really weird. But also, he's like, "You're a bitch. I don't like you because Baki's weak, and it's your fault." And the funniest thing is, so the new Netflix season is out, right? And there's a moment where Yujiro's talking to the guy from the underground arena. I forget his name, but whatever, right? The little like old dude. He's like, "Hey, old dude." The old dude's like, "Hey, Jack got his ass whooped, right? Jack Hammer, aka Jack Hanma." He's like, "He got his ass whooped," and Yujiro's like, "Oh, that's because he's got thin. The Hanma blood is thin in Jack." And the dude's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He's like, "It's like he lost, right?" He's like, yeah, Jack lost. I just told you Jack lost." He's like, "See, that proves that he must not have really good Hanma blood." He's like, Are you fucking insane?" Like I was surprised that the little fucking 4 foot nothing old dude just like, "Yujiro, you're a fucking idiot. That doesn't make any sense. Like, he's got the same amount of blood in him as Baki, right? Like, your DNA is equally responsible for him getting his ass whooped." But it's funny because here he's pissed off that Baki's so weak, and he's blaming Emmy. He's like, "It's your fault. It's your fault. He's a pussy. And I don't love you. You and me cannot be together because I asked for a son and you gave me a Baki." And this drives her nuts. She goes down and she sees Baki in the hotel lobby, and she just starts beating the shit out of him, like in front of everybody, just like punching him and shit. And he's like, "Mom, I love you." And she's like, "Fuck you, I hate you, you little bitch." And I'm like, oh my god. And it
reused material.
Yeah, and it ends up, he's like, "Mom, but I love you." He's like, "I just want you to love me 1/10 of how you love Yujiro." And I'm like, you mean 1/10 the amount, not like 1/10 of the same kind of love, right? Because
you're a mother-daughter. Mother-daughter. Mother and son.
Yeah, we're getting into some weird territory here. Like, Alabama called them. They're a little uncomfortable with this. So eventually he hugs her and he's like, "Mom, I still love you even though you don't love me." And then she bites him. Like, she just like hauls off and just bites him on the arm. Hence the title. But again, I'm like, wait a minute. The guy gets body slammed on the ground. Not a scratch. His mom, with normal mom old lady teeth, bites him, breaks his skin, causes a scar, a big noticeable bite mark on his arm. How?
I was wondering if it was because he it's not like he was tightening his muscles or anything, or like he was putting himself on guard.
Yeah, but it proves that his skin is normal skin. It's like normal people's skin. Like, even if his muscles are strong, like, his skin is still just skin. It's not like bulletproof skin or like leather. Like,
no, he was cut that episode too.
So he should be getting cut up and like beat up and like
Animation errors, we'll say.
So then he
Sometimes
goes
he has
wandering.
bruises.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like selective.
Yeah, it is.
So he goes wandering in the street, and he's sad and all depressed because mommy don't love him. And he bumps into some thugs, and they're like, "Hey, kid," and they start beating the shit out of him because he just lets them. He just lets these guys beat the shit out of him. And then who comes to save him? Hanayama. Oh yeah.
Love Hanayama.
Wild Hanayama appears. He saves Baki, and he's like, Baki, did your mommy do that to you? He's like, yeah, my mommy bit me. And it's so, like, the last 15 seconds of this episode, I swear to God, if you put, like, soft music to it and edit it just right, it looks like they're gazing into each other's arms. They're into each other's eyes, right? Like it's got that classic, like where it shows their face and zooms in, and it shows the other guy's face and zooms in. They're all smiling at each other.
I hate you, Tony.
And then they end up in a room holding hands. So
No, it's just bros being homies.
I guess. Because that's how episode 13 starts off. They're just in the room together now. They're just being bros. They're just broing it up. It is the weirdest thing. Episode 13 is called The Midnight Hour. And this is the fight. This is what you've been waiting for. This is what we've been building up to. At midnight, Baki is going to fight Yujiro. It's here. The moment is here. And again, we get some more gay overtones with Hanayama and Baki holding hands and gazing into each other's eyes lovingly.
Beautiful.
He even does the thing, like where like they hold hands and then like the guy puts his hand over her hand. It's like two hands on one. That makes Hanayama the woman in that scenario.
We stand.
Yeah. So we see people are getting their invitations to the match. But Baki's training. Baki's like, hey, I got to keep training. I got to keep, if I can't go 12 hours training before the fight, and I'm not even going to last in the fight. So he's going to train the entire time. Of course, Emmy's still pissed that Baki's a little bitch. She's like, Baki's a little bitch. And, if he loved me, he would beat his dad up. Because if he beats his dad up, then the dad will love me. So I gave Baki life. And if he doesn't kill the dad in a fight, then I'm going to kill myself. Which is weird, right? Because, again, Yujiro fights to the death, right?
Correct.
So presumably, the only way for Baki to beat him is he would have to kill him, right? Because Yujiro is going to keep fighting with every ounce of his being, right? And so she wants Baki to beat Yujiro, but if he did, then Yujiro would be dead. So then how could Yujiro love her if he's dead?
It's not really something she thought through. Like, I'm pretty sure Baki doesn't actually want to kill his dad, despite Baki's dad being like, no, you gotta kill me.
Yeah, but I would assume that Yujiro is going to leave him no choice in the matter. Like, if it got to that point, right? But anyway, we those are things that we're not supposed to think about. Because we got training to do. And Baki's like, hey, that guy from episode 1? He shows back up. The thug, the schoolyard thugs, he shows back up. He's like, hey, I got some thugs and we're going to fight you. And I paid them all $100. But Hanayama's like, those guys are bitches. You need some real fight. But luckily, before we get that, the boxer dude from, what was it, like episode 4, he shows up. And he's like, I got to fight Baki. And Hanayama's like, no, dude, your arm's fucked up. Remember the arm that I fucked up?
Yeah.
that I exploded, that's still
Yeah.
fucked up. You can't fight. And he's like, no, don't tell me about my arm because I used to fight even before then. So I'm still good to go. I'm still good. So he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you fight Baki. So he fights Baki. And Baki is so fast that he's dodging. The guy can't hit him. Dodging him. He's this, that, the other. Meanwhile, Gaia, his buddies show up, but without Gaia. This guy is on a secret mission. And what I think is the cheapest moment in all of anime is we see Gaia is now confronting Yujiro. The two baddest dudes so far in this series, right? Yujiro Hanma, the Red King dog. Gaia, who's supposed to be like just as badass, right? They're going to fight each other. And then the camera cuts back to Baki. And we never get to see Yujiro and Gaia fight. Instead, like I said, we see Baki fighting the boxer. He dodges. So then Hanayama tags in. He's like, let me try. And then Baki's like, well, just hit me because I want to see if I can take a blow. So Hanayama just pummels the shit out of him. And Baki's like, none of this hurts. He then hits Hanayama. And Hanayama's like, shit, you're super strong now. So then he takes on the two of them for the next several hours. And that would probably be pretty badass to see, right? Except for we don't get to watch that. We just hear that that's going to happen. And then it cuts away back to Emmy because I guess we care about her getting in a helicopter and showing up to go to the fight. We see just like, I want to say like 10 seconds, maybe less, of Baki making a fool of these two guys. And then it's showtime.
Ooh.
Oh, man. We're at the moment. And again, grounded, right? What we said in the previous reviews and the previous discussions about Baki 2001 is that it is very grounded for what it is, right? Until there's a literal earthquake happening in Japan. And they're like, oh shit, I guess we can't fight because there's an earthquake. And Yujiro punches the ground and then the earthquake stops.
Yes.
At that point, I would just run.
Like, right? Same. I was like, you have no chance. You have no chance. We're going to die.
He literally hit the earth so hard that he stopped the tectonic plates from shifting and causing an earthquake. Because that's what an earthquake is. It's the giant plates underneath all the land, scraping up against each other, as we've learned in like third grade science class, right? Like just to wrap your mind around the amount of force and directed energy it would take to stop that from happening. Like, we don't even have technology. Think about it. In the modern age, we don't have like a machine or a bomb or anything like, oh, there's an earthquake, turn the machine on and it like stops the earthquake, right? Like, if there's an earthquake, that's it. Like, everything's just fucked up. Like, we can't stop it. This guy punches the ground, stops an earthquake. And I'm supposed to be like, yeah, that's normal. That's perfectly sane. Normal. But of course, Baki's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fight. And he goes after him. He starts hitting him. And just like nothing. Like Yujiro doesn't even flinch. He just lets him in. We end up with Baki on Yujiro's back, giving him a little chokehold. And Emmy's like, oh my God, it's so sweet. It's almost like a father carrying his son. Look how sweet it is. And I'm like, this bitch is crazy. Like I know she been crazy, but she fucking crazy. Right?
Yes.
And again, it seemed like a waste of an episode, right? In my opinion. there's a lot of build up and then like a lot of starting and stopping. Like something's happening and then stops. Then they shift over, and when you come back, it's over. Because again, we didn't see the fight with Gaia, but then Gaia shows up at the end and he's all like bandaged up, and I'm like, oh, something happened, I guess.
Yeah, he got beat up.
Yeah, but how? What? I want to know the details.
Never. You will never know.
Episode 14. This is it. This is the fight. Episode's title: Lullaby. Baki still choking Yujiro. Eventually, Yujiro just flings him off like a rag doll. Baki comes back, kicking him. Ta, 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 ta. Nothing is phasing him.
He's not moving.
He's not yet. Eventually, he does move, where he walks forward so he can basically tell all the people there, like, you all suck. Baki sucks because he's been fighting people that suck, and he's the king of suck, and it's great that all you sucky people can watch him get killed. And you're responsible for his death because you suck so bad. While he's getting punched and kicked by Baki.
And they're like, what? But it's like, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. And of course they can't do anything. And Baki, of course, he thinks he got him. He got him. That's it. But then Yujiro just fucking hits him. But Baki's ready for it, right? Because he's been training. This is the moment. He goes, fucking hits him. Does the little this is before that. He fucking hits him with a like overhead kick and just like catches him in the air. Then eventually, Baki has the idea of doing the, when he hits me, I'll dodge at the last second. He closes his eyes. He's ready for it. Yujiro comes with an overhead chop. As soon as it hits Baki's head, Baki flips over, does a kick. But guess what? Yujiro's ready for it, because as soon as Yujiro gets hit in the head with the overhead kick, he does an overhead kick and kicks the shit out of Baki. He essentially did the exact same move that Baki did. Now, later on in the karate tournament arc, or when they go over and they fight all the Sea Kings or whatever the hell they're called, right?
Mm.
When he fights the old dude, Sea King Kaku, who does like, look at me, I'm so fucking like loose that like nothing hurts me. Like Yujiro is able to copy that just from watching it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then my mind goes, well, did he copy, like when he hit Baki and Baki did the thing, did he like instantly was like, oh, I know how to do that now? Or was this something that he already knew how to do? Right?
I wonder, because it shows that he's been training, so I just assumed that he trained for it.
Because it's like identical. Like Baki gets hit with the overhead chop, and as soon as it makes contact, he flips over. And then the exact same thing happens. Like as soon as the overhead kick touches fucking Yujiro's head, he flips over and kicks Baki in the face. And then he just starts pummeling the shit out of him. Just fucking like in the most horrendous way possible. He just stands over him and just starts beating the shit out of him. Like, and again, he's hitting him with all of his strength in the face, right?
Yes.
No blood, no brain damage, no broken bones. Just... Well, there's a little blood, but he's hitting him, and eventually, even though Emmy's turned on, eventually she's like, "Wait a minute, that's my son, and I love him," and so she attacks Yujiro. She punches him in the face, and Yujiro's having none of this. And I'm like, why are the rest of these guys just watching? Right? They don't even try to help at this point. Like she's the only one that tries to help. The rest of them are just standing around watching. and going, "Hey, don't do that because he's going to kill you." And then they proceed to watch as he breaks her hand with his head, breaks her other hand with like a backhand slap, and then he like breaks her foot inside in his eyes. He like catches her foot because she's going for the I'm going to kick you in the balls. Catches her foot, breaks that, and then slaps her head. And I guess explodes her ears because there's like little shit comes out of her head.
I thought it was like brain sprinkles.
And then she's like, "You're not as strong as I thought you were." I think he slapped her stupid because then she hugs him, right? And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe that's it, right? It's over." She bites him, and he smiles, and I was like, oh, "Okay, maybe he's cool with it now, like right, like she's still got fight in her, so like, hey, she's great." But no, he literally hugs her to death. Just fucking breaks her back. Yeah, he bear hugs the shit out of her. And they're just watching. All these guys, all these tough guys, are just watching as he snaps a woman in half. No emotion.
It's again like the whole, they can't interfere because then they would have like consequences. And I'm like, yeah, but they're killing a bystander. Like, that's his mom, bro. I mean, yeah, she's a piece of crap and like whatever. I mean, at least you found out that, she has a son.
But there's already consequences, right? Like they're watching like Baki get killed. But she, like you said, she's just an innocent bystander. She's like, no, don't do this. And instead of going, hey, let's at least run out there and grab her, right? Like one of them could have ran out there, like tackled her, and like, no, bitch, you're gonna get killed, right? Like, no, they're just like,
especially short butler guy.
Yeah, I guess she's gonna die, and just watch her die. And then for all their, and this is what made no sense to me, right? Because they just watched this happen, and then the one dude, the samurai guy, after she's dead, then he's like, "You have just committed a crime, sir. You need to turn yourself into the police. I will be happy to escort you." I'm like, where were you like 5 minutes ago?
It was like, oh, sorry, like, whatever this is, it's whatever, but like, you just killed a woman, and that's my end all be all. So I will help you turn yourself over to the police. And I'm like, man, get the heck out of here.
Okay. So then for his trouble, he gets his ass whooped. And then all the other guys get their ass whooped. And this confused me. I'll be honest, I was confused at this point. Because as he's beating up everybody, they show Emmy laying on top of Baki. And I could have swore her hand moved, right? Her hand moved. I was like, oh, she's still alive, right? Her hand moved. She had a little twitch in her hand. And I'm like, she's still alive. I was like, I don't know how. Like, he literally like crushed the shit out of her back. Yujiro just flies away, leaves the carnage in its wake. And then we see, and this is what confused me, because we see Emmy hugging Baki, right? She's holding him like a mother holding a child, so lovingly, so sweet. She's like, yeah, she's singing a lullaby, and I'm like, oh, this is finally, she realizes it's her son. She loves him. Amidst the carnage, right? And then we flash forward. It's now daytime, and Baki's walking through the street, and people are moving out the way, and he's like, "Hey, why is people looking at us?" I'm like, "Well, probably because your mom's like all dangling, because he's giving her like a piggyback ride through town." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like I guess she survived. I guess maybe Yujiro's not that bad, right? Maybe he just hurt her, but he didn't actually like snap her spine or anything, right?" Okay. And then we see she drops her ring, and then suddenly she's gone. She has disappeared. Oh yeah, because she's dead, and Baki's just been hallucinating the whole time.
So he was probably talking to himself, and everybody was like, "Yo, why is this kid talking to himself?"
Yeah. But again, now see, I get that, right? I can understand that, but that that doesn't explain why just moments prior we saw her singing a lullaby. Baki was out cold. He wasn't hallucinating because he was not conscious. Was I hallucinating? Is that what it was? Like the viewers hallucinating her singing the lullaby? Because she didn't look like a ghost, and she didn't look like like, oh, maybe she's not really there. Like she's kind of see through or something, right? Like,
Nah, they don't usually do that. They just like make them seem like they're actually there, just to say, "Whoops, psych."
yeah, I think that's cheap. Like you've given us no indication. Like I said, they showed her hand twitching, and then next thing you know, she's there hugging him. And I'm like, oh, I guess she lived, right? It makes no. It's just dumb. It's just bad writing, in my opinion. Poor storytelling, right? Because you could have done that in a lot of ways. Where like even if like Baki, like if they showed his eyes open a little, like all glassy, and he's like, then you could be like, oh yes, this has all been a hallucination in his mind, right? But again, he's literally just out cold. Like, what are you showing me? You're just showing me something that's not happening, right? It's like there was no indication that he was dreaming. There was no like wavy lines.
No, they don't do that.
Again, because it's stupid.
They do it to try and trick you. So you can be like, oh my god.
They tricked me. Then we seen the detective guy. He's like, hey, just leave Baki alone, police officer. Leave this beat up, disheveled 13-year-old kid who's just wandering through the streets talking to himself. You just leave him alone because don't worry about it. He's fine. His parents are dead. His one parent is dead, and Ichiro's gone. And I don't. Everyone knows that he's Baki Hanma, right? So the dude that his mom was married to, how did the birth certificate situation work? Because wouldn't the mafia be kind of pissed off? Like, wouldn't they be like, wait a minute, our mafia boss's new wife got knocked up by the guy that killed him. Maybe we shouldn't be listening to this lady. Maybe we should take her out back and put two in her head. You know? What's up, Bianca, too?
What? Oh, what happened? What'd you do?
I didn't do nothing. There was just two of you.
Why was I kicked out?
I have no idea. But yeah. So Baki Hanma, he like I was saying, he's Yujiro's son. Everyone seems to know this. But Emmy was married to the mafia guy. Wouldn't the mafia guy's cronies be like, wait a minute, the timing doesn't add up? Like, wouldn't they be kind of pissed? And then his mom's dead. There's no funeral. There's no funeral scene. And they're just like, what's he going to do? And I'm like, doesn't he inherit all the money? She's like rich and shit. Right? Didn't they say she had like $1 trillion or something? And it's just like, oh, I have no idea what's going to happen to him. I'm like, he's like the richest kid in the world now. Like, right? That's his money, right? I'm assuming.
I don't think that's ever been established.
I was gonna say because like even in the later episodes, like he's still like in a ram shack, little like he's like a little fucking by the bay, like a little fucking wooden shack by the river somewhere, right? It's like he's like the richest kid in the world. He's like Richie Rich. But then it ends where he decides he's leaving. He's going to America. And then he's in a desert. I don't understand how we got to this desert. Is there a desert in Japan? Did he fly to America and just started wandering through the American deserts? Where did the desert come from? Because he's literally like, I'm going to America. Then they show the butler dude walking away from the house, which again, I guess nobody's going to tend to the fortune. And then Baki's just in a desert because there's just sand everywhere. I'm assuming it's a desert. He's just sand everywhere, footprints through the sand. He's just walking, and I'm just like, why? Like, did he fly to America and then like, hey, let me off by the desert so I can just walk through the desert? Right? Because I'm pretty sure, like I said, I'm pretty sure there's no deserts in Japan, and you can't walk from Japan to America. So he's got to take a plane to America, right?
No, I mean,
And I'm pretty sure there's only like one desert in America. So like he just landed and just like started walking through the Nevada desert for some reason.
I mean,
Are we just not supposed to think about it, or?
I don't remember if they ever explained it.
And then episode 15, we have the police officer that had been watching Baki from episode 1. He shows up and just starts reminiscing about Baki. And it's basically one of those clip shows where we see clips from all the episodes and all the things that Baki's gone through. Which is weird because he's talking about these things, right? And it's like, there's things that like they shouldn't know about because they weren't around for them. They weren't exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's because he's the butler guy and he's supposed to be watching everybody or whatever. He got some inside scoops.
So then, the butler guy says, "Don't worry about Baki." It ends with, "Don't worry about Baki because he might not have his mother's love or his father's love, but he's got the love of friends, and that's better because your parents are just supposed to love you, but you have to earn love from your friends, and that's why friendship is the greatest power of all." There's like a My Little Pony "Friendship is Magic" speech at the end of fucking Baki episode 15, and I was like, yeah. That was a whole waste of it. Why was there a clip show? Was it like the manga ending, or they hadn't written the next volume of the manga and they're like, shit, we need one more episode?
No idea, to be honest.
It seems like, because they're like, hey, we can't have a 14 episode season. Like, give us a clip show for episode 15. Because it just seemed weird. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a weird episode to start.
Yeah. So that was episodes 11 through 15. And again, very disappointed. Very disappointed. I thought the Gaia fight was built up to be something bigger than it was. And he's supposed to be like the master of warfare. And like, even in later episodes, they call him like the elemental or the fucking earth fighter. Some like weird shit. Like he uses fucking the ground and everything around him to fight. He literally like did two things, and I was like, oh, so he used the vine and then like he used the leaf. Oh, he threw mud at him too. So 3 things. Like the dirtiest fighter ever. Like he didn't do shit. So that was stupid, in my opinion. And then
have to add on the my opinion.
Yeah, I always gotta add on my opinion. And the fight with Yujiro, again, built up. I thought it was going to be longer.
That's funny.
I thought it was going to be less one-sided. I don't know why. Because, again, it's early. I guess I figured, they hadn't really established anything yet. And, maybe Yujiro would oh, shit, Baki, he's not there yet, but he's closing the gap. And so then he would train and be, to become more powerful or whatever, but it's just like he's just like at the peak of his power. He just never like ever gets more powerful. He's just always the top dog, I guess, which is weird. What would you think? Did you like them? Were you excited for these episodes?
Some more than others.
Are you excited for the next set of episodes?
Yes. Tournament arc. Oh, I'm not gonna be hyped for that second opening though. That just went into my brain. Oh no.
Well, luckily, when I watch them, there's no openings. It's literally just like the episodes. There's no ending credits and there's no opening credits. So I don't have to worry about any of that.
I'm ready for PS2 graphics.
But I did take a sneak peek at the episode 16. And man, I am not looking forward to this. They massacred my boy. What the hell did they do to Baki?
They be doing this every season.
He looks like Fist of the North Star all of a sudden. I'm not looking forward to this. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it gets better.
You gotta meet Jack.
Oh, Jack's in this one?
Jack.
Oh yeah, that was no, that happened in the next episode. Never mind. Because I did watch, like I said, I did sneak and watch.
Oh, you punk.
Well, we'll discuss that coming up. But yeah, overall, very disappointed. This show has been a roller coaster of this is good, this is bad, this is good. Like an episode that's really good and has a lot of action and story elements, and then an episode that's just like really slow and dull and nothing really matters. Like you could just skip that episode and the story would still flow.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know if this is because the anime was coming out while the manga was still getting written, or because Dragon Ball had that issue, right, where like eventually the anime caught up with the manga and then like they started drawing things out because oh shit, there's nothing else for us to talk about because he hasn't written those episodes yet, right?
So fillers.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's part of the issue.
Everything.
Like we're getting like filler content because they're trying to stretch things out, or that's just the way it is. 'Cause I haven't read the manga. I'll be honest, I haven't read the manga. So who knows? Maybe that's just the way it is. Which could be. But hopefully next 5 get better. I have some faith. But any closing remarks, Bianca?
I can't wait for the next 5. I thought it was totally tubular for these episodes, except maybe like 1 or 2. I don't know.
We watched 5. Like those are all good except for 1 or 2, like which is like half of what we watched.
Almost.
But until next time, this has been your Frog King, TonyTGD, and the coolest werewolf on YouTube, Bianca from Myself and Comics. And as always, love, peace, booty grease. We out this bitch.